Can I tell you what excites me the most about this API movement, the bulk fire that we're looking at? It is all the work I was asked to do internally. Hey, build out this clinically integrated network where the data flows across, and build out all this reporting that we need to measure the effectiveness of the clinically integrated network. And again, in Southern California, and the listeners have heard this a number of times, we had an interesting model. We didn't employ all these physicians. They were all part of a foundation. So they all went out and got their own EHR. And we literally had a spreadsheet of 100 different EHRs. Now, they weren't distinct EHRs, but they were distinct instances. So the data was different, the connectivity was different, and all that other stuff. And so when they came to me and said, as a CIO, all right, we need to build these dashboards, it was as daunting as it can be. You're looking at, okay, I've got to connect to 55 of these EHRs across 150 physician practices. And now I've got to bring the data in. I've got to normalize the data in some way and bring it back to meaningful reports that the physicians can act on. That's the part of this, I think, as a CIO, I'm most excited about, that data layer being set up at this point.
This is why I was very eager to chat with you at the beginning of the year. Because if there's anything I would love for today's audience to get, what you've just outlined, the pain of yesterday's data normalization dashboarding layer, is poised to flip to turnkey light switch style on or off infrastructure, but it needs your leadership, CIO X. Let me explain. We've spent the first part of this interview talking about the consumer. Is there a demand signal? And we've talked about the fact that the pipes exist. This is an important clarifying statement. The pipes that were laid to point to consumer apps were regulated to normalize the data across instances within an EHR and across EHRs. It is why Apple Health, which requires and validates that your pipe normalize the lab records to LOINC, normalize the medications list to RX norm, etc., that the codifications meet the standards, or you cannot be approved to feed the Apple Health app. In many ways, I jokingly refer that Apple is is like a real world evidence of government policymaking, because on the ground, they will not allow you to connect your health system's pipe to a patient unless it's validated. What I mean by that, Bill, is the CIOs who are listening, when you interact with the EHRs, you're often doing so through their back-end databases, which can be competitive and proprietary data models. And so they may speak HL7v2, they may even convert the data to FHIR, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of unregulated data formats and structures and quality of the data flowing into a warehouse that needs work to normalize. But that pipe that went out to Apple Health is clean. It's like the crude oil turns into whatever the analogy is, the refined oil or whatever that is. And in 2022, thanks to the Cures Act, bipartisan, that single patient pipe to a consumer designated app is now feeding in the same regulated data feed a population data lake. So if you wanted to extract every single patient's updated records every single night, you simply would run an app, a bulk fire app, on top of your regulated bulk fire server, which the EHR vendors have to supply no later than December of this year, and have to price essentially a net neutrality style model where they can't discriminate based on use case to say, well, this is a more valuable use case, you charge more. This is a more societal good use case, you get to pay less. It's actually normalized to true cost and has to be disclosed. So I see in calendar year 2022, the shift from the single pipe to the consumer into this bigger pipe to the data lake as the big technology migration. And it's not going to just auto magically happen. CIOs, call your EHR vendor and say, when will you ship for me the technology to test this? Because it may become the new what you previously would have in terms of interface engines. It may be your data and analytics replacement for an interface engine, which is the foundation of those sort of dashboards and visualizations. But you need to ask for it. And if you demand that it works, you need to provide feedback that it doesn't scale, it's hitting the production systems, not the, we'll call the warehouse systems. All of those operations, we need a growing cadre of CIOs in 2022 testing the regulated big pipes in order to make sure that they work as we enter 2023.